Pittsburgh Steelers fans, BTSC Nation, it is time once again for the Steelers Hangover. Why a hangover? We haven't played any games. There is so much news coming out of the Steel City that you're always hungover about something, whether it's good, whether it's bad. There's a lot of good stuff. A lot of stuff you're like, wait, what about this? We've had a retirement of a Hall of Famer. We've got the courting of a Hall of Famer. Well, future Hall of Famers, Tony Defeo. It's good to see you, my friend. Thanks for sitting in with me.
Oh, are you kidding me? I wouldn't miss this for the world, except for that one time that I did because of work. But other than that, I'm here every week. I love it. I even though it's as we're taping this, February 15th, still a lot of news, as you said. So a lot to sink our teeth into.
I got to tell you, Tony. Just put on the line, hi family, hey family, and that's it. We feel like this is a Steelers family, and it's a special thing. You and I have been doing this a long time together now. What's this, like 4 years now, you and I together?
Yeah, we had I came on as a guest in the fall of 2016 with you and another guy whose name I forget, but the following season, it was you and me every week. It's been that way ever since.
That was Zach Parnes, and Zach was a junior at Syracuse University, a great broadcasting school, and now he's a young guy. He's a sports director and a sports anchor at an NBC station on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. So doing great things. But yeah, you came on with Zach and I at the time, and we originally did our show. My first foray into podcasting was our show Factor Fiction, and then you and I did Factor Fiction for a little bit together, and turned into the Q&A and everything we've done. So it was really special. But I mean, you're like a brother to me, and I talk about my wife and kids know Tony, and it's funny. I got to tell you, because we were just talking about my duties here at BTSC. I'm the podcast producer, so my job is to make sure that I edit everybody's shows, whether I'm on it or not. And about 2 weeks back, it was a Sunday morning I got up around 6:30 in the morning. I'm still in bed, and I'm doing my work in bed. And my wife goes, Bryan, it's too early to have to wake up to Tony.
Well, that's the first time I've heard that. So that's good.
I'm like, Tony's voice. That's awesome. That's what she goes, this is what you're getting out of that. I'm like, yeah, that means that he's a name brand for us now. But no, my family knows Tony, and Tony, you're family to me, and I love having you here.
I appreciate that. It's a very stressful time for me right now, so I need to hear those kind words. Likewise, you're a great dude, and I appreciate our friendship.
And I appreciate everybody in here in the live chat. I just saw Cree just put it in here. I had no idea this until this second. I'm just Googling it. It appears that former NFL wide receiver Vincent Jackson was found dead at age 38 in Florida. Cause of death is unknown. Vincent Jackson, just a very tall, remarkable wide receiver. Man, I hate to hear that. And here's somebody that's supposed to know stuff. You and I just recorded another show, so we've been out of pocket. And so thanks for putting that up there, Cree. I appreciate that. I had no idea. So very sad news to start off the show.
Yeah, I can't believe that. Holy cow! Obviously, it couldn't have been natural causes. So yeah, it's crazy. Hopefully, it wasn't anything. Well, I mean, it's always horrible, but I mean, I'm at a loss for words. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's man, it's not good to get news on the air because we're like, whoa.
Right. Yeah, that was. I mean, Vincent Jackson. I'm thinking he was even younger than that, but yeah, even 38. That's insane.
Yep, absolutely. So I got to tell you this other NFL news today. Another former NFL player in the news. I even hate to waste a breath on this guy, but it's I have no problem mentioning this because it is Adam Pacman Jones arrested again for assault. Gosh, some guys just can't stay out of trouble, and I hate to see that too. But when it's Pacman Jones, I'm just like, that guy, just a bad dude. It's really you hate to see that stuff.
Yeah, there's. I definitely knew about that, and I don't know what kind of rehabilitation he could do to his reputation at this point. I think he, like you said, he's just a bad guy. Anybody who is still doing these kind of things after being given chance after chance, he's just he's beyond help, I think.
Yeah, he is, and you would hope that somebody would find a way to turn their life around, but sometimes it's just not possible. As Attic Noble says, Pacman Jones still just does not get it. SMDH, not surprising though. Yeah, it's just sad.
Yeah.
All that opportunity to do something good in the world, but you don't. But let's not waste too many breaths on that. So big things happening over the weekend. And the big thing for Steeler fans, it's a really big thing. It's Maurkice Pouncey. And you had a great show the other night talking about Maurkice Pouncey's legacy here at center. And I got to tell you, we have heard the last couple years, and we hear this a lot, and we heard it even when Troy Polamalu was getting older. Some people never wanted to. You don't want to see your favorite players get older and their skills decline a little bit, but a lot of people were calling for Troy Polamalu to hang it up. Troy wasn't calling for him to hang it up. People were calling for Ben Roethlisberger to hang it up, and they were doing the same thing with Maurkice Pouncey. But I ask sometimes if we speak too soon on this. Is this really another guy that's waiting in the wings? Because I don't think it's J.C. Hassenauer. So, I mean, is this something that we really wanted to see this year, Tony?
Well, I didn't want to see it. I never want to see my favorite players retire, even if I know that their skills are diminishing. I mean, I loved Hines Ward. I didn't want to see him go, but I obviously I knew he was pretty much at the end of the line. But I didn't want to see it. But there's nobody behind him, that's for sure. So it's definitely going to be an area they're going to have to address, whether it's going to be in free agency or the draft. They can't let that position go. So people are saying, well, I'm glad to see him go. Well, they have to have somebody replace him, and it's not going to be, like, as you said, J.C. Hassenauer, unless he has a miraculous first or second year leap that we don't know about.
Yeah, that's a thing. So there's not anybody waiting in the wings. Check out. I'm going to do another plug, another shameless plug for all of our shows. I just did one for yours from Saturday. I'm going to do one for Jeff Hartman's from this morning. Check out Let's Ride when he talks about how this changes the Steelers' offseason plans, because now you might be looking for a guy like the center out of Alabama, maybe a little earlier than you thought. I mean, this is a deep O-lineman draft, but you might be changing things. You might be looking for a free agent option in free agency. Now I'm going to plug one of my articles from Friday, the Free Agent Market Watch, players that the Steelers probably can't afford. And I put that in there because somebody always yells at me and says, they always say, why are you even writing this article? We can't afford these guys. And then I write the article and said, why would you write it when you know you can't afford these guys? I'm like, that means you didn't read the article, by the way, because it says all that. It even says it in all caps too.
Right.
But, so it's one of those things for me. It's just like, you can't win on that, but I'm listing the free agents that are out there. And there are some options at center. There really are. They got to find money under the couch cushions, but never say never with that, because you never know how this whole thing's going to shake out, which leads me to ask you the next question, Tony. Ben Roethlisberger, his center's gone. And remember a couple weeks ago when Ryan Toner, his agent, came out and said, Ben says that he'll rework his contract, do whatever, but if we do that, we want to rework the contract so you can keep some people. And he mentioned Pouncey by name. Does this possibly speed up the retirement process for one Benjamin Todd Roethlisberger, maybe?
I mean, a couple weeks ago, I was so confident that they were going to get something done. But now that it's been what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks now, and since both Art II and Ben came out and said they were willing to work to get something done, and we still haven't heard anything. Now I'm beginning to wonder. Maybe him and Pouncey were obviously very close. They were always linked as far as if one went, the other one was going to retire too. So now it makes you wonder. Yeah, I mean, Ben has a lot of influence in that locker room, in that organization. Obviously, the franchise quarterback always does. They're in many ways the most important member of the team when they're on a team. So I think the fact that we haven't heard anything about anything getting done in the last couple of weeks, I think that's very telling. So I'd say right now it's about 60-40 that he comes back, where instead of like 90-10 a few weeks ago.
I still think he comes back, and the reason you haven't heard anything yet, they don't know yet. And I'm going to go the Dave Schofield route. When I think about things, I take a lot of stock in what co-editor of BTSC Dave Schofield says, and I'm going to jump on this one and agree with him wholeheartedly. Look, the reason you don't know, it's dominoes. It's all dominoes. Because the reason you don't know about what we're doing with Ben, because you don't know what the cap number is. The reason you don't know the cap number, if you read his article today, and he's been shouting this from the rooftops for a long time, Dave has, that they're reworking a TV deal. Right. So if you don't know the TV deal, you don't know what money that's going to bring. You've got to wait to figure that all out to see what the salary cap's going to be, because they might be in a situation, if the salary cap's better than you think, then Ben doesn't have to take that much of a hit. I'd love to see him still try to find a way to rework that without kicking the can down the line and kill the Steelers. And there's ways to do it, because you just can't mortgage the future with one guy. But I'd still like to see Ben there. So with that being said, it's really interesting. Those dominoes have to fall. So that's a future Hall of Famer that we're talking about in Ben Roethlisberger, a future Hall of Famer that we're talking about in Maurkice Pouncey, whose first name is not Maurkice Pouncey. Tony, what is that's his middle name, Maurkice. What's his first name? And nobody Google it. Google it.
Oh gosh. If this was a audio only, I would Google it, because I have no idea. I didn't know that. 11 years. He's one of my favorite Steelers. I did not know that was his middle name, Maurkice. Wow. And I call myself a fan.
LaShawn Maurkice Pouncey.
I had no clue. Even when you said that, it doesn't ring a bell. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, his name's LaShawn. See, you didn't know that. I should have let you guys know that a long time ago, because we call him Benjamin Todd Roethlisberger and Michael Petaway Tomlin and stuff like that. We could have called him LaShawn all this time. Here's another one. I mean, now I'm going off the rails because I have this adult ADHD that I'm dealing with. What's Terrell Edmonds' real first name? It's not Terrell.
LaShawn? No, I don't know.
Fadarius. His name is Fadarius.
Wow. Okay. Man, I didn't know. Well, at least I'm glad I found out that one sooner instead of 11 years into his career. So
now we're going to be talking about Fadarius now. So that's the new thing. We've got to do that. So we're talking about future Hall of Famers. There's another future Hall of Famer that's in the news, and because of his last name, he becomes black and gold news. Even though he's a Houston Texan no longer, his name is one Justin James Watt. Can he meet up once again with his brothers Derek Watt and what's the TJ stand for, Tony? You know that, right?
Thanks to you, it's Trent Jordan, right?
Yep, Trent Jordan.
Yes.
So so Trent Jordan Watt, Justin James Watt, and the reason Derek Watt does not go by DJ Watt is why?
His middle name doesn't begin with a J.
It actually does, but he did not want to be not mistaken, but he didn't want to be associated with DJ Tanner from the show Full House and now Fuller House.
Wow, that's quite the extreme. Wow. Okay. All right. Well, hey, You know,
I think Dave Schofield told me that one. I got that little nugget. Usually I come up with these crazy nuggets, but I got that one from the deputy.
Wow.
Well, he's no
fullbacks
longer
really
the deputy. The Oracle. I'm sorry.
Anyway, that's okay. Fullbacks really are a different breed, I guess. I never would have even considered that because my nickname's TJ, and I don't care that TJ Watt shares the same nickname that I do. I mean, I came along first, so too bad.
I did not know you went by TJ. What's your middle name?
Julius.
Oh, that's right. I knew Julius. Jules.
Yeah, Jules.
Tony Jules. That could be your Sopranos name, Tony Jules. I might have to do that. I might have to start calling you Tony Jules.
Well, that'd be the first. I'm named after my two uncles who are both Polish and German, but everybody thinks it's a totally Italian name, but it's really not.
I love it. All right. Well, so let's get back to JJ Watt. And so, look, a lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people think automatically he's got to go to Pittsburgh, right? Because his brothers are there. Not so fast. It's kind of tough to say that because there's so much more involved in this. But people are excited, and even the great Pacman brothers have come in and said, "Hey, if you could figure out a way to get your brother here, that we will go ahead and change our name to Watt Brothers." Have you heard that?
I have not heard that, but that's if I'm Pacman brothers, I wouldn't make that commitment. I'm sorry. They've been around forever. It's all about branding. And what if they all have bad years? You don't want to, you know what I mean? So no.
There's always loopholes. It's a good gimmick. I mean,
that's right.
They could have a lot of fun with that though too. And I saw on the live chat, one of my good friends, and it's great because of Facebook. We have a lot of people that I know in my regular life that are showing up on here. In fact, my dad and nephew started showing up in the live chat. They're not on tonight, but one of my good friends commented on that and said, Watt Brothers, that just doesn't sound right. And he did that earlier in the show, and I wanted to wait to bring it up. And my good friend Mike Ramarge. So Mike's out there checking out the show. Mike, it's great to see you on the show. Nice to see that. And I know you've got buddies on the show too, so it's really great.
Yeah.
To have more people in your regular life showing up here too. So the BTSC family is strong here, so it's really great. So thanks for all of you. And I got to tell you, there's people that I never met in my life that now I consider really good friends that are in this live chat because, they send us texts, they send us personal messages on Messenger and Facebook, and it's really nice to get to know them. We get a chance to meet up with them. We got a chance to meet up with a couple at a Steeler game last year. So that's really nice. So and especially if you're checking us out in February, like I always say, Tony, you are a true Steeler fan. So there you go. But let's just say this. Let's go ahead and take a break, and we're going to dig deep into this JJ Watt thing and just see how much of a possibility it really can be. I mean, I'm thinking no. I don't think it's going to happen. But what I'm saying is, how could it happen? What are the possibilities? What would it take to bring Justin James here to play in the black and gold? Jeffrey Benedict had a great article today, and he does Film Room, and he talked about how actually he would really fit in the system. And you need to check that out too on BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. Remember, we're not just a podcast platform. Everybody thinks we are, but we came out of BTSC, the editorial side. So you got to check out the editorial side as well. So let's take a break. If you are on Facebook, if you are checking us out here on YouTube, just take a deep breath, take a stretch, do what you got to do, go fill up that glass. If you are checking us out on any of the podcast platforms that you use to get any of your favorite podcasts, and I hope Our Family Podcast are one of them, just go ahead and switch on over to number 2. You can do that in a jiffy. So we'll be back right after this on the Steelers Hangover. Welcome back to the Steelers Hangover. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis. Alongside me is Tony Julius Defeo. Tony Jules and Bad. That might be the new show, Bad and Tony Jules. Or Bad Jules.
Wow,
Maybe.
there you go. My mother
There
would
we
be
go.
proud.
Here's Bad Jules. Oh, man. Here's another little thing you don't know. So, one of my favorite all-time favorite songs, is by the Beatles. I know you got to be a Beatles guy, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I like the Beatles. I grew up listening to them like everybody, in the 70s and the 80s. They were still really huge. So yeah, I love the Beatles.
What's your favorite Beatles song?
Here Comes the Sun. Oh gosh, what's his name? The guy
George.
George Harrison. Yeah, I love that song. It's my favorite.
George sang it. My favorite is Hey Jude.
Paul McCartney.
Yeah. Now, do you realize that song originally, when it came out, well, before it came out, when he was writing it, it started as Hey Jules.
No, I didn't know that.
Why do you think it was Hey Jules?
Was it Julian Lennon, right? His John Lennon's son. It was written about him.
Well, John and Cynthia Lennon were getting divorced. He was a kid. He was broken up about his parents' divorce. And so Paul wrote this song, Hey Jules, don't make it bad. Take a sad song and make it better, and turn it into an epic 8-minute classic that went number 1 for 8 weeks. One of my favorite songs, but I digress. Chad Landsman says, I like the Beatles and the Stones. I go back and forth because I love both of them. Some week I'm saying the Stones are great. I love the Beatles, but the Stones are great. And then Josh Parker says same thing. Stones are better. And then I go to the other thing. Well, maybe this week I'm a Beatles guy. So, I love them both. Stones and Beatles. They're both favorites. But let's get back into our real favorite, and that's the Steelers. So Steelers trump Beatles and Stones for me. And so let's talk about that musical number. And the number that everybody is talking about right now is number 99. And number 99 in Pittsburgh is Henry Mondeau, but that's not the 99 they're talking about. So, and I even have I was wearing my 99 jersey on Tales from 2 a.m. yesterday and trying to punt it off as a TJ Watt jersey. And Jeff Hartman's like, no. That's a Kiesel jersey. I'm like, hey, it could be a Kirkland jersey. It could be a Mondo jersey. You never know. Like,
that's right.
Yeah, no. Nice try. But so I got to tell you, let's think about this. When you first heard the news, when you saw, because the first thing we saw was the video of him, thanking the city of Houston, but saying, hey, I'm done. I'm going somewhere else. What was your thought, Tony?
Well, I thought we would be having discussions like this, and he would be desired heavily by Steeler fans to reunite him with his brothers, TJ and Derek. That's the first thing I thought. We would see the Photoshop 99 Steelers jersey, the whole works, and that's what we've seen. That's the first thing that popped in my mind, that Steeler fans would immediately want him to come here.
Now, Terry Bradford asked, who would JJ replace Tuitt? Now, check out, I mentioned this just a little bit ago. Check out Jeffrey Benedict's article. He sees a perfect rotation on that defensive line. It is a really good article. Really, he wouldn't be replacing anybody. So there's some things to look at, but that showed up. I believe that showed up this morning on BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, if I'm not mistaken. But Jeffrey Benedict wrote a great article about it. It's absolutely fantastic. So here's the thing. About 12 teams have come out and already offered, or have had talks with his management. And on Friday, he mentioned this Friday morning. He announced this Friday. And then he turns around and says, I'm going to go ahead and take the weekend and think about it and hopefully have a decision next week. So it's not going to be long before you get a decision. The problem is you've got teams like the Cleveland Browns out there that we know have reached out to him, and they've got a lot of money under the cap. I mean, it seems like they have so much money under the salary cap. I would hate to see it, but I don't look, I'm going to say this right now. It's all up to what JJ Watt's expectations and what he wants to do in this for the rest of his career. Is he going to chase a ring? Most likely. Does he want to spend time with his brothers? Probably. But what trumps it? You know, this is a very tight-knit family, so you can see him taking less money to stay in Pittsburgh with an incentive-laden deal, which they can go ahead and do something like that. But, you know, you could also see that he's not like Juju Smith-Schuster, who, and the reason I bring up a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster, look, we cannot begrudge Juju Smith-Schuster if he takes money from Las Vegas or takes it from the Jets and runs out of town, because this is his first contract. Juju has some endorsements too, but look, really, he hasn't gotten that big contract yet. JJ's gotten a couple of the big contracts. He's probably set for life. He's got endorsements like crazy. And he's got a television show. I mean, he's the main host with his brothers for Ultimate Tag. He's hosted Saturday Night Live twice. He's one of those guys that he would really have to believe that the Steelers are not declining and a team that could chase a ring, and he could get the best of both worlds here and not worry about the money. He's a guy that doesn't really have to worry about the money. He could sign a 2-year deal. But with a lot of incentives. What do you think?
It's like what you said. There's so many teams that already reached out to him. So even if he's not about the money, I mean, it would be hard to pass up a really good offer, even if it's not, you know, an offer he would have gotten in his prime. It would be hard to pass up a decent offer from a team, because, you know, these guys, they all have healthy, even if it's not a unhealthy ego, they all have healthy egos. They're big time athletes. So I think it would be hard for him to pass up a decent deal from a team that's willing to work with him. As far as the Steelers, I mean, you know, it's like I said on Friday, if they can, it's going to take them a lot of work, regardless of what the salary cap winds up being. And there's speculation now that it might be higher than people thought. It's still going to take work for them to get under the cap. They're going to have to work with Ben. They're going to have to work with a lot of other players. So if they can find the money to sign JJ Watt, who I agree would be great as far as a rotational player with them, and you wouldn't have to replace anybody to bring him in here. But if you can find that kind of money to bring him here, then why not use those resources to bring in to address more pressing needs on your team, like offensive linemen, like tight end, like running back. Those are my thoughts. It's like I get it. JJ Watt's an exciting name, and you mentioned it. He's a great personality. He'd be a celebrity here, but I just don't know if at this point it feels like a luxury, because you could re-sign Tyson Alualu for a fraction of the price that it would take to bring even JJ Watt, who doesn't care about money, here.
Steve Litterell says, I'm more worried about signing Hilton and Sutton. That's a worry. That's something to look at too. A lot of people, Rajan39, a lot of people have mentioned the Packers. If Aaron Rodgers stays with the Packers, I think he's going to. JJ will go to the Packers. That's something you look at there. I could probably wrap this entire thing up with this. You're going to find out what JJ Watt and the rest of the league truly feels about the Steelers. You're going to find out what the Steelers feel about the Steelers players, feel about the organization and the direction they're going in, with where JJ goes. Because if something happens that JJ ends up in Pittsburgh, there's a plan in place, and everybody knows it, for this to be not a rebuild. And no one thinks it's going to be a rebuild. But if he comes here, then that means that there's some scuttlebutt out there inside the organization that they're serious about still remaining a contender.
Right.
And why I'm saying that, not because they are bringing him in, it's because he would decide to come to Pittsburgh.
Right.
That's it. If he believes enough in this organization and they sell him on that, then guess what? Then there's something going on that they've got a plan in place and they really think they're going to execute it. That's just coming off of my black and gold brain. I mean, that might be crazy talk, but I kind of believe that. I think it would be interesting. Do the Steelers need JJ Watt? It would be a luxury, and maybe it's a luxury they can't afford, like you mentioned. But it could be a sign that there's a lot more to come with this team.
Right.
You know what? And that salary cap, if that salary cap goes up in another 5 to 7 million from what they're projecting, if it ends up being around 187 million or closer to 190, this team's in a lot better shape. They would be in a lot better shape, and there's relief coming. There's definitely relief coming in 2022. So that's kind of what you're looking at here. You just don't know what they're planning on doing.
Well,
the funny thing about the Steelers, I'm sorry, Tony, go ahead.
Well, no, that's you made a great point. I forgot to bring up. He's not the only thing he's missing at this point of his career. He's done it all. He's a multi-time defensive player of the year. He's a celebrity. He has all the money he needs, but the only thing he's missing is a Super Bowl. So, he's going to want to go to a team that he feels can win it all. And if he comes here, then that would be a sign that the Steelers aren't as bad off as a lot of people think. Sorry, go ahead.
Jerry Cherry asked, would JJ, do the Browns still put 50 points on us in the playoffs? Maybe not. It's interesting to see what a team like the Browns is going to do, what the Browns are going to do right now. Ron Chess says, bad, Tony. I'm afraid that JJ won't come here at all because Ben only has 1 year. If they approach this quarterback situation right, and there's a way to approach this quarterback situation by bringing an established veteran. We've talked about this for years. When Ben's done, do you just go homegrown inside of the organization, or do you find teams have found free agent quarterbacks or through it via a trade and have gone far with them on a second team. So we've seen that a lot in the past. I mean, think about way back when Harbaugh did not have a great career. Next thing you know, he's on the doorstep of a championship with the Indianapolis Colts. So we've seen it so many times. Teams find that free agent quarterback or via a trade, and you can get a guy, and there can be life after Ben Roethlisberger if you do it the right way. Look, just because they didn't do it the right way back in 1983 doesn't mean that they can't do it again.
Right.
Teams have replaced Hall of Fame quarterbacks. It's just doing it right. Jessica Herbert's is like Ryan Tannehill. Yeah, I mean, look, Tennessee wasn't going anywhere with Marcus Mariota. They came very close to a Super Bowl. They were in the playoffs 2 years in a row, and they've won a couple playoff games with Ryan Tannehill. So there's so many possibilities here, Tony.
Yeah, and as I mentioned in the past, I think they're going to take the position more seriously than they did after Bradshaw. That whole run that they had in the 70s. I mean, that was the first time for them doing anything as in the championship way as an organization, and maybe they didn't know how to go about repeating that. So, you saw those 20 years after Bradshaw, they really didn't address the quarterback position in the first round, and they certainly didn't go after any high priced. Not that free agency was a big deal back then, but they didn't try to bring in anybody with any kind of a reputation. So I think they're gonna, the second time around after Ben leaves, if they're not going to draft somebody in the first round, they're certainly going to try to bring somebody in as a high price free agent, a veteran guy, something like that, and realize that you can't neglect that position. I think the first time around they thought, okay, we'll rebuild through defense, in the trenches, all that kind of thing. But you need a quarterback. I think they know that now.
This is really interesting here, and there's a great debate, and it's a very civil debate, but there's a debate over a guy like Sam Darnold. I love Sam Darnold. I'm actually one of those guys that would welcome him here. I mean, I don't think you sell the farm for the guy, but I think he's a guy that could have success here. Jets are a train wreck. Thaddeus says this: look how lucky Ravens have been. They went from Flacco to Jackson. Hey, yeah, they were in pretty good shape. They were able to replace their quarterback, and I don't consider him a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he was a Super Bowl winning quarterback for them, and they won a lot of games with Joe Flacco. So
right.
and they actually got stronger when they brought in Lamar Jackson. I know everyone's going to say, well, look, he's not great in the playoffs. He's 1-3 in the playoffs. Yeah, but I understand that. But they didn't go through a long rebuild. They didn't go through any rebuild. They kind of restocked. Javier asks, and we're going to start out throwing your questions. Next 5 minutes, we're going to throw in. We're going to go into Q&A mode. So go ahead and throw those questions in. Javier asked, Darnold or Haskins, who would you rather have?
Oh, I'd say if you're looking for somebody you want to bring in and maybe rehabilitate as the face of your franchise and replace Ben, it would have to be Darnold, because he had he has a much higher pedigree. He was much more well known in college. He had a much better college career at USC. You heard his name for 3 or 4 years, so whereas Haskins sort of came along in his senior year. So I would have to go with, at this point, if you're asking, Darnold.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking. And remember, a lot of people are all worried about the Dwayne Haskins thing. Look, he's not being brought in here to be the successor to Ben Roethlisberger. He's
right.
being brought in here to give a chance to show what he can do.
Right. And if you get lucky, yeah, I mean, they're right.
There's no downside to it. They're not going to hitch their wagon to somebody just because he's here. They're going to need to hitch the wagon to the right guy. So that's exactly what we'll see. This is also the walk year for a guy like Mason Rudolph. Now, if Ben Roethlisberger decides to go, you might see a year of Mason Rudolph.
Right.
I mean, because this late in the game with the salary cap issues, you might see that. But I agree with you. I don't think it's going to take forever to go ahead and find another guy. Steve asked earlier, and I can't find the question. And remember, if you want to throw in a super chat, we'll put you right at the top of the line. I can't find it to put it up on the screen, but he asked a question that we mentioned earlier. And I'm going to go ahead and reiterate. You're not going to find out until close to March 17th what the salary cap is. They're working on a new deal right now with the NFL. There's talk. My wife keeps telling me, she's like, look, we need to get rid of DirecTV because we only got it back so you could have your Steeler football. And so and I'm like, well, we just got it back because I need it for this. And but she goes, they're not going to have it next year. So there's a lot of people that think that Sunday Ticket's not going to be on DirecTV. That could be huge as far as with this new TV deal. And when they work out this TV deal, usually new TV deal brings a lot of money.
Oh,
and it could make up for all the money teams lost because of 2020 and not having fans in the stands. But the league still found a way to make money last year. And they're going to continue to I mean, we can talk about how ratings are down and how everything's down, but people aren't going to go away, though.
It's still the biggest game in town. It's still the hottest property. And I know one in all of TV, whether it's scripted TV or reality TV or sports, the NFL is so valuable, and they're not going to sign a lesser deal. I can tell you that it's only going to go up. So you're right. It could really benefit the Steelers.
Jerry Cherry mentioned something, and this is true. Sunday Ticket was a waste last year. No Steelers for the last 6 weeks, it seems. Yeah, the problem with that is when they're doing well, then they're on nationally, and you don't get them on Sunday Ticket. You still get them, but you don't get them on there. But my problem here is I'm living in Maryland, and I've got to worry about them doing a Ravens game or a Washington football team game and not getting it. And that's something Dave Schofield deals with. Sometimes he's like, "Hey, it's not on. Could I come to either your house or Jeff's house and watch the game?" And we're like, "Of course you can." But there's some people that rely on it to be on nationally, and when it's not, they rely on it to be on Sunday Ticket. And it's crazy because you might be in the situation where you can't.
Right.
You can't watch it. So I'm anxious to see where all of that goes. But there's so many things that could happen. But getting back to the regular question, the main question that we have here is JJ Watt. In your gut, whether the Steelers need him or not, what's your gut say?
My gut says that they're not going to bring him in. I mean, maybe they might have reached out to him, but I think there's so many teams that are asking for to talk to him. I think even though he might not be about the money anymore, it's going to be too hard to pass up a deal that another team with more salary cap room is able to offer him.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think he comes. Now, somebody mentioned. And I lost it here, but somebody in the live chat mentioned that if JJ does not sign with the Steelers, that he bets that TJ goes. Do you think that would ever be a possibility? I see him being in black and gold the rest of his career.
No, I mean, was this any kind of a thing even a couple weeks ago? No. Do you think TJ Watt was basing his future on whether or not he played with JJ Watt? No, he's a Steeler for life. They're not going to let him go. I mean, he's almost as valuable to them now as a franchise quarterback. That's how good he is. People were saying he was robbed of the defensive player of the year. Well, that means he's in the same echelon as Aaron Donald. Would the Rams ever let Aaron Donald go? No. So Steelers aren't letting TJ Watt go anywhere. He's going to be here for life, or at least until he's at the same stage of his career as JJ Watt.
This is going to be a business decision. It's going to be a business decision for the Steelers. It's going to be a business decision for JJ Watt. And that's the bottom line to the whole thing. You're going to find out, and no hard feelings if he does sign with Cleveland, if he does sign somewhere else. It's a decision for his family. You're going to go to the best possible place. And if it ends up that you're in the same division as your brothers, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people mentioning Green Bay. I kind of think he ends up on a team like the Buffalo Bills. I know Stephon Diggs is working really hard to get him. He's out there.
It's going to be a team that he thinks can get him a title. That's he's going to go with where there's a great defense, where there's an established quarterback, a good coach. That's what he's looking for. The Steelers, they have a lot of those things, but do they have the room to sign him? Do they have the need for him? That's the thing. I mean, they have so many other needs. Bringing in a JJ Watt when you already have a really good defensive line, I don't know if that's where they should put their money.
The bottom line of the whole thing is just stay tuned to BTSC every single day, because there is going to be so much information. Check it out behindthesteelcurtain.com on the editorial side. It is always going to be there. There is always going to be breaking news, and we're going to have it pretty close to first. Sometimes we do have it first. And so check us out. And there's going to be so much news coming up around the bend, even this week in the middle of February. I know there's no regular combines. We're going to have, pro days. There's going to be so much to talk about. The JJ situation is going to be there. I have it loaded up in on the podcast side so that, if Jeff or Dave see it, that if something happens, that they could jump in like Dave did the other day with a breaking news podcast. I have a breaking news podcast ready for them that they can go ahead and do. And that's what they did. I didn't have to do any work with it. Jeff and Dave took care of it. And because it was all ready to go because there's going to be breaking news with this team. And we're going to see so much. And who knows? Something might come out of left field. We didn't think we would be talking about J.J. Watt the last couple of days. We knew we'd be talking about we knew we were going to hear a decision from Marquise Pouncey. I didn't even think it was going to be this soon. I thought it was going to take a while. So there's always something coming up around the bend. And check out BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. You're not just your one-stop shop, like everybody likes to call it. I like to call it your non-stop shop. So for Tony Defeo, I got to do this. I just found this. We just got a super chat. And I did not see that. So let's go ahead and bring that up first before I sign off here. I almost missed this Asiatic Noble. I apologize. He gives us $10. We appreciate you so much, buddy. Thanks. Always enjoying the show. Keep up the great work, guys. Black and gold for all of eternity. Thank you so much. That's very kind to say. We appreciate having all of you in the live chat because, guys, girls, men, ladies, we can't do this without you. It would just be two idiots talking about the Steelers.
Exactly.
And we can do that on our phones, but it's so rewarding that we can do that in front of you. And I think in the Blog Talk Radio days, it was just me and you talking on our phones with nobody listening.
Yeah, and half the time I would cut out. Yes.
Yeah, so we've come a long way, but the only reason we've come a long way is because we've got people here. So George Testons says it best. Great show, Bad Jules.
There it is. Now it's stuck.
Tony's gonna cuss me out when this show is over.
A name is born. Bad Jules.
So anyways, hey, thanks so much for all of you. It's great to have you in here. For Tony Defeo, my name is Bryan Anthony Davis. We love you, BTSC Nation. Keep coming back. We're gonna keep on being here for you. So with that, be sure to be safe. Be true to yourself and always be behind the steel curtain. But for Tony, I'm bad. And just when you think you've got all of the answers,
we keep changing the question. See you next week.